It means that you reject the white dude with the banjo who shows up at the function.
Yeah.
Cheers. Nice.
Back in the studio for our review of Twilight.
Not Twilight.
Twilight, True Blood.
Who do you think wins in a fight?
Twilight, Blood, or Crips?
Is this Creed meets Twilight?
I'm embarrassed to say I have not seen Creed yet.
Oh, okay.
My mom was very upset about it.
Do you think Robert Pattinson could play a boxer?
Nope.
You don't think he could?
Nope.
But Michael B. Jordan can play a vampire.
Apparently so.
Yeah. We just saw the movie Sinners, which is a vampire epic.
Is that what we're calling it?
I mean, that's what I'm calling it. I don't know. I thought it was a zombie movie when I saw the commercials for it, but now I understand it as a vampire movie. So, we just saw it at AMC during the day,
Yes.
which was
We recommend.
a pretty important
I
part of the
recommend.
process. We walked out of it and we weren't.
I'm really thankful the sun was
That
out
scared.
when we left.
Yeah. Takes place in 1930s Mississippi. And I just read somewhere that this is one of like 4 movies that have come out since the start of the year, 2025, where there is one guy playing multiple people. You know what I mean?
Mickey
Like
17?
Mickey 17 was the other ones, and I can't remember the other 2. But these were the only 2 like big ones.
And Nosferatu was 2024, yeah?
Yeah, they all came out in like the past. Let me look it up. They all came out in like the past couple.
I was just wondering if the vampire thing is becoming a trend this year or last year.
What other vampire movies have you seen?
None.
Nothing.
I don't mess with vampires.
Are you more scared of vampires than zombies?
I don't like either, but I feel like from what I understand, like vampire films opposed to zombies have been like, how do we make vampires like seductive? How do we tempt you to them? So I'm like, I already don't want to mess with vampires, and now you're going to try to make it look enticing. So I just can't. I can't with vampires.
What did that stem specifically from Twilight? Like, your people start to love these and I hate them? Or was it from a different movie?
I don't know. I mean, maybe just because growing up I wasn't allowed to watch vampire movies, so then I was like, vampire bad. And then I know like how Twilight works, and I'm like, yeah, I don't understand it.
Yeah, that's fair. I just looked it up. Mickey 17, The Alto Knights, which is a Robert De Niro gangster movie.
Oh, they have someone playing multiple people?
Yeah, Robert De Niro plays like a younger... You know how he did in like The
Oh.
Irishman, where he was like a younger version of himself? He plays the same guy.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if he plays the same guy. I don't know the story. I haven't
That's
seen it.
impressive.
But he's 2 different characters in that. And then The Monkey was the other one, that like scary movie where the monkey
gosh.
kills everybody. Apparently there's a duplicate in that, but
Okay.
I haven't seen it. So,
Oh, here we go.
Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld, and I don't know the other actors, but they were really good. It's directed by Ryan Coogler, who has worked with Michael B. Jordan a bunch. So I expected it to be like I expected him to be the focal point, and he does so like it's so much like the movie just relies on him so much. But I think we need to address the real elephant in the room, which is that this is the first movie I've ever seen where traditional Irish music is painted as the devil.
This is the first time you've seen that?
It just was like so
I apologize to your father.
I thought it was hilarious.
Are
and I
you
think he
okay?
will. Yeah, I felt fine.
I was worried about you just like in the very beginning when he's like clearly very talented with his guitar and there's like
Oh.
this like warning, you know, like, oh, like this could be used for good or for this. And I was like, you're okay, Zeke. Like, you're okay. I didn't know Irish music was going to have anything to do with this.
Well, I don't play like, traditional Irish folk
But we do
music.
drink Irish beer. And for that,
We do drink Irish beer.
And I enjoy it.
Well, so yeah, that's fair. I think it was.
Are you
like,
okay? Do you feel personally attacked?
Not at all. If anything, I feel like, in like the past maybe like decade or two, there has been like a resurgence of African American representation in like horror films or just like subgenre films. Like you think about Us, the Jordan Peele movie, where it was like, this is just a horror movie about a black family is the main cast of it for no other reason other than they're really good actors. And you know what I mean? Like that they can. And like I think that's really good. I think that's really cool. And this sort of felt like that. I know that there was racial undertones of the movie, especially like the Ku Klux Klan plays a huge part of it. But I felt like it was like, hey, here is a vampire movie. The actors, and it takes place in a black community. But it's really centered around like a vampire story. It's a vampire movie, that it's not like a movie that speaks directly or encapsulates like the black experience, So I don't know. I was like, make the bad guy whoever you want. Irish immigrants were like probably a big part of that community.
I know. And we like, definitely have to do our research on that.
So, and I have no idea. I have zero knowledge of the relationship between Irish immigrants and 1930s, black communities and plantations. No idea. So I
really
can never.
Curious.
I can't
what
even speak to
inspired that? Like antagonizing that.
I don't think it was supposed to. I think it's just somebody was there because I looked up the Wikipedia. Just like the plot, just to like read it over and see if I missed something. And it gave like a little bit more detail about like specific characters. And I didn't clock it when it happened, but like when the vampire guy like first gets to the door of that family, of that couple, that's like a clan member. And he like, he comes in and then that group comes like the vampire hunters come. It's like a Native American, like specifically a vampire hunting group that was like it was actually like a Native American tribe, I guess from that time. So I think it's just like supposed to be a vampire movie set in a historical place. And so they just take real people or real communities, not like trying to stereotype them, just trying to make it realistic, just trying to like really drop you into a piece of history and then give it a supernatural twist.
Well, and that's why it makes me curious why the people who are kind of starting it are probably Irish. Like why that and why they make it obvious. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Like, I feel like there was just so much intentionality behind, like, the casting and the cultural groups being represented. Because even before we started recording, I was wondering about the Asian couple that they hired to help put on the event. And I was like, I'm curious if that was intentional or if it's like, hey, like, they happen to be a part of this community. Like, there's no, like, underlying message behind that. And then there was a video talking about like during that time how like they didn't really have a place. Like it was like these are for whites, these are for blacks. You need to figure out your own thing.
And other minorities are lost in the in between.
But that there were like a small amount of Asian markets and that they were welcoming to Black customers. And so they actually, a lot of their business depended on them. Sure. And so I was like, there must have been intentionality with like, these are business owners. They had 2 shops, which is interesting too. So I don't know if it was like a colored shop and a white shop, since they might have been in the middle. Or maybe he was just playing with like duality throughout it, like having doubles. Like I wonder if that has anything to do with it too. You know, that there were 2 shops, 2 sides of it. But yeah, so all that's to say, it just makes me want to know a little bit more why it just so happens that the people who kind of start all this are Irish. What did they do?
I think it's just, I just think it's probably a historical accurate thing. Like just try to drop you in it. The duplicates theme is interesting. What did you feel like the difference between the 2, Smoke and Stack?
Okay, cool.
Was to you? Because I don't know.
I was gonna ask you about this too, because when the movie started and it was them, like the 2 Michael B. Jordans, I was like, why? Like for a second, I was like, what's the reasoning behind this? Like, I get it. Like he's a good actor. Do they really need 2 of them? Like they couldn't just like cast someone else to play his relative. And then pretty shortly after, it's when they're kind of making the plans for the night. Like, okay, you're going to take Sammy. I'm going to take the truck. I had this moment of like, okay, they're wearing different, like noticeably different colors, like the blue and the red. Maybe one of them is supposed to be kind of like the angel on the shoulder, and one of them is supposed to be like the devil on the shoulder.
That's what I expected at first.
Which is interesting, and I think that is what the intentionality was, because Stack is the name of the one with the red, correct? He's the one who takes Sammy into town.
I thought that was Smoke.
Well, Smoke goes by himself. He has the blue, yeah?
Doesn't. Oh, wait. So not to... Well, we'll spoil it. No,
I'm getting it mixed up.
Smoke dies.
Okay, so Smoke is the one who wears the red.
Yeah. Smoke is the one who goes
becomes
first.
A vampire.
Yeah.
Okay, so if that's... Okay, cool.
I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna look at that up, but I'm pretty sure.
Assuming that Smoke is the Michael B. Jordan with the red accessories, I definitely think he was representing like kind of the devil on his shoulder, because he's the one who spends the whole day with him. And we can talk more about the ending later, but I just feel like that conversation that they had was a little bit more devilish rather than like... And again, we'll talk about the ending in a bit. I just felt like he was definitely more of the devilish and like the tempter character, and more of the one that's like, everything's about living now. We don't need to think about finances later. Like we need to think about how to make money now, how to have fun now. Whereas like Smoke seemed more relational. He seemed more, this is better for like the people who are coming out here to like celebrate
in the community. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was more of like the planner. He wasn't a flawless character, but I think he was more responsible. And I think even if you compare their relationships, like one of them is like kind of seeing, kind of not seeing a married woman. And for Stack, he's like in this weird gray area, like relationship, but with a woman that like he was supposed to like raise a child with. Like, again, he's not flawless, but there's a little bit more depth to his character, a little bit more family and people oriented.
He's the one who goes to the grave in that scene. So I think he kind of recognizes things and
and he's like trying to protect Sammy. He does protect Sammy.
He does,
and he's the protector of Smoke.
Well, he's the protector of Smoke. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is like there was that in an exchange where he says like, you always had my back, or you always looked out for me, or something. And I'm sorry I couldn't look out for you. And he's like, you did. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. Here's something I didn't get, and maybe you could cut it. What was their relationship to their dad, and what was it that happened?
I don't.
From what I gleaned,
They talk about it so fast. I think just like they like had to kill him.
Yeah,
right?
Was it Stack who had to kill him?
I think so, because I think Smoke was being asked about it, and he said we didn't. So if that's true, then that means like Stack's character has had to like lose family members, but also kill a family member.
Yeah.
And still couldn't. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Like, it sounds like he has a weird relationship with grief of like, I had to do it, but also like, I'm still grieving it, you know?
Sure. Yeah. Well, so that's what I was going to say is like both the Smoke and Stack and Sammy, their like ways, their personalities are so impacted by, and here's where we get into the Christian lens, their relationship with their fathers. Like they Smoke and Stack clearly like there's some sort of bad blood with their father, and there's like a sort of like an inherited sin, like an inherited sinful nature from their dads, versus like Sammy's dad is a preacher and that weighs on him too, but in a different way. And like they're both sort of unsure of how to go about that, you know? Yeah, I don't know. It was...
Before we move on from like the Michael B. Jordan's characters, did you feel like that was the purpose behind him playing both? Do you feel like it made the film more impactful having him play both? Could it have just been played by someone else?
Well, I think that there was like definitely an intentionality of like the dualistic nature of man. In that, I think when the movie started, I was like, this is a lot of shot. It was amazing how many shots they had of them in the same frame, which you have to like really put a lot of intentionality into like lining that up and making sure that like things are good so that you can kind of splice those together. And I was like really impressed by the parts. Like it didn't seem too inauthentic or computer graphic when he like hands him a cigarette, or he like that when they have interaction. Like that's not real, but like and it didn't seem like superimposed or anything. It didn't happen a lot, especially at the beginning. I was like, how much are we going to see of them interact? Because you have to get a body double, and then you have to do double coverage of the same person.
Yeah.
You have to change outfits for every shot.
Even
that you go
the
back
lighting.
And forth. I mean, yeah, I was really amazed by that. And I was like, at what point are they going to split? And it was like pretty immediate. Like, you know, Sammy goes with Smoke into town to get like the musicians and the crew, and Stack goes to the market to get the supplies and stuff. And even like coverage of them in the same place was separated. Like I kept noticing like at the juke joint, like they were very rarely together. And even if so, they were very separate. Like they were on separate sides of the dance floor, or when he pulls them into that room to talk about like the money thing and exchanging money for a different currency.
Well, and when
him and Annie are in like a different part of the room, and when he's holding him,
that seems like that would have been really hard to piece together.
Well, oh, you mean like when he first gets bit?
Yeah, and he's like holding him.
Yeah, that was another. I was like, that doesn't look computer generated.
It looked real.
It looked very real.
Yeah.
But then the parts of like at the end when he's on top of him and like he's gonna stab him, when he like saves Sammy from him.
You can do the switch.
Yeah, like you get so close up that you just need a body double. Or like the part with the rattlesnake, he tosses it. So I don't know. Like,
do you feel like it was necessary to have him play both?
I don't know I think if I was Ryan Coogler, I would say I've worked with Michael B. Jordan. We're collaborators on this. He's probably an executive producer, but I know him well enough to go, like, I would rather have you play both than have somebody kind of random come in,
Okay.
Like, why not have the same guy play it and have it be this dualistic nature, especially if the story's specifically set around twin brothers. like, yeah, I trust this guy. Why bring in a third party to take it on? I think the other thing too is like, I think with them playing twins, it sort of plays to the idea that like, it's not the things that happen to you that shape who you are. It's the way that you respond and the way that you form yourself in a lot of ways, like sort of the nature versus nurture aspect. Like they're very different, like charismatically, they're very different. Smoke is like sort of fly by the seat of his pants and is a smooth talker and like, much more like chipper and kind of quick-witted, and then Stack is like a little more methodical and a little more quiet and a little more reserved and kind of approaches things directly. But yet like they both went to Chicago. They were both soldiers in the same war. Like you kind of assume that it's not like they've been separated at any point in their lives.
Right.
So why are they so different? Well, part of it is probably the way that they've just responded internally, but also like you feed off of that, and they probably have lived in together so much that one person's advantage creates the disadvantage in the other person, and one person's disadvantage might create the advantage in the other. So, I don't know. I appreciated that they were twins, and I thought that like, it's kind of a fresh new take on a vampire story to say like, not just like, I honestly, I thought what was going to happen towards the end, what I was expecting was like one of them was going to get bit, but then they were both going to be wearing the same thing. And the rest of the characters were going to have to figure out which one is the vampire and which one's the real one. And then they would kill one or, so that's what I thought they were setting up for, but that never.
Yeah,
interesting.
Never
came to it.
I did think he was gonna have to kill him, and because I was kind of looking away when I got really scared, I assumed like he did end up killing his brother. But I think too with having like the double, like I was thinking, is it worth all this work to have him play both? And I think we saw these moments of, oh wow, like I have to kill these people that aren't actually the people I know and love, but they look like them and it feels like I'm killing them.
Yeah.
And so again, I think for Stack's character, it's just so full circle. Like if he really did have to kill his dad we don't know the reasoning. We don't know what that looked like. And now it's like, oh, he has to kill like this woman that he loves. Again, not her, but he's having that same experience. And so we see the weight of that. And then when it's time to like attack his brother, it's not just attacking like a family member, but it's attacking someone that looks exactly like you. Like that is a trip. You know what I mean? To have to face like, this person looks exactly like me, but they're not me. They are not who I think they are. Like this is someone else. This is like the devil. But that's probably like so much more painful. You know what I mean? Like he was like, oh, he couldn't kill me. And I think, it would be a lot harder to be in that interaction with someone who looks exactly like you. And I did think like, after all that, I kind of thought Stack was going to do something to kill himself, like after everything ended, just like when he's having the flashbacks of all the people beforehand, like when they were dancing, when they were singing and stuff. I was like, man, like he's going to, and then it's like, all right, he shot everyone else instead.
Well, I mean, so that like, well, he kind of does. Like he wants to take down the clan members that are coming
before he dies.
But like he does it in sort of a suicide pact. Like he's, bringing them to fruition.
No, that makes sense.
I mean, I know, like, I don't have a doubt that, like, in that time that is something that could happen. Like, the whole clan members, like, selling them the barn and then, like, wanting to, come back and destroy it. I wonder if there is, like, a historical account of that in some regards. And then they just took that and were like, how did they find out? And kill it. Well, there's probably, vampires. So I doubt that it's like, I don't know.
I was confused when There's that like really, really long conversation where the vampires are on one side of the door and everyone else is on the other side. And they're like talking for a while and they're, proving like I have the memories of these people and everything. I was confused about the vampires' connection to the KKK because we're making it sound like we're attacking you because you like the way you bought this. Like I was confused if they were saying like,
oh yeah,
because it went from like,
no, I don't
they were
think it
drawn
was
towards them because of the music, because this music conjured it up.
right.
But then it seemed like, no, don't you know like whose land this is? And like, think about how you got the money. So you know what? Maybe it was just like supposed to represent the devil putting lies in their head. But I was a little bit confused. Like, wait, what's the actual reason they're like so drawn to this area?
I think it was like, I mean, the whole like was drawn to this area. I don't really know. I viewed it as like evil and the devil is so much bigger than like say the Klan, like so. Then the reason I say that is because like what I gleaned from that conversation was that that couple that the vampire comes in, like the devil comes in and like takes shelter in their home, and then kills or makes the husband a vampire, and then makes there was like a Klan hood in their house, and that they were the son of that guy. That guy was the son, or the daughter maybe was the child of the guy who sold them the property, who was the Klan, president or whatever.
Was it just coincidental then?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
That's
what I was confused about.
More so because he says at one point something like, "We'll go get them too," like meaning like, the like he offers Stack like the ability to go take vengeance on the Klan, if I'm remembering that correctly.
Who offers that?
The Irish devil, for lack of a better term, the like leader guy. He explains like, oh, like it was that guy who sold it to you, and they were never gonna let you, have it. They were never gonna let you like build this land. It was always a ploy to kill you and sort of take you down. And he goes like, we won't stop here. Like if you come, let us come in, we'll kill you, and we'll kill them too.
Okay. So the KKK isn't the reason the vampires went, but it was kind of like a thing to kind of use like, hey, at this point, you might as well be free from all this.
Yeah, well, I think so, yeah. I think it was like, give up now. Like, this isn't what you think it is. This is, you're not living a good life. And this is my question, too, that I sort of feel weird about is, why were they drawn to it was specifically the music that draws these evil spirits to them. And I just was like kind of struck strangely by that, because like the preacher, the dad who's the pastor, like kind of warns him like, hey, don't do this, give this up. This is like an evil thing, or this is going to draw evil to you. And but like you're dancing with the devil and he's going to come home with you, so it's just like the whole movie's like a warning
tale
about playing bad music, like
it
I mean, like
kind of remind me of Coco. Because hear me out, it's like making this thing your whole identity to a point that it's like an idol. And so in Coco, this guy loses being involved in his family because of his love for music is so, like, surpasses that so much that it becomes his whole life and he dies, like, alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think it was trying to explain, like, the your relationship with this is not healthy. And like it seems like Sammy's plans are like he wants to just focus on playing music and leave everything. Which like I'm not saying that's demonic, but I think
So it was saying stay rooted in community. Like I don't think that Sammy's want to get away and want to, go travel or leave that community behind was necessarily bad.
So then maybe that's what Coogler was saying. Or maybe he was saying...
Was the music that was happening at the juke joint good inherently? And that's why it drew in the devil because he wants to destroy that? Or was it like a welcoming to the devil?
If you think about the intro of the movie, they weren't saying music in general. They were saying our family, our like culture, like some of us have this ability to play music that can conjure up spirits, which could be really good and beautiful, like spirits from the past and from the future.
Oh, but some of them are
it could
evil.
also stir up, evil ones. So I don't think it's like it's supposed to be about music in general. I think they had to kind of add that preface of like, here's something that's true about this particular family. And because of that, he might have to sacrifice it or live with like these demons entering his life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't think it was Coogler's way of like attacking music and musicians. I think it was an interesting tool to use. I don't know a lot about like vampire rules. Like I was reading some reviews and somebody was like, I'm so glad they stayed true to vampire rules, like how they have to ask to be invited in. I didn't know that was a thing. So I don't know if music plays a role in it, but yeah.
I knew the garlic thing and the wooden stake.
I didn't know the wooden thing. So is it the sound of wood breaking?
No, it's a wood through their heart.
Oh,
a wooden stake through their heart. That's why that's why he has to stab her
right
in the heart when Annie's like dying out.
Right, but when Sammy hits the main guy with the guitar, they all like freak out. I thought it was like the sound too.
Maybe. I mean, I think it's also maybe a wood guitar.
Right. So I wasn't sure if it was like the sound of the wood snapping. It's because they all like they went crazy.
Yeah, that's
after
fair.
that.
Actually, I don't know.
I don't know
gets
vampires.
In the head too. I didn't know the inviting in thing.
I didn't either. So I was very confused, and I was like, I think that like made me a little bit confused when they were having that long conversation and the door's still open. I was like, just close the door. Like they're gonna come in anyways. They're vampires. But I guess it's a thing. Like they have to ask to be let in.
I thought that was just I thought it was just like that verse thing. Like I thought he just implemented that rule. The writer or Ryan Coogler. Like I wasn't aware it was an actual vampire. I mean, historical quote unquote vampire.
Historical
rule.
Vampires.
Very Nosferatu based.
This is nonfiction, everybody.
Do you think that this will help the Nosferatu publicity as well? Do you think this will help Twilight?
I don't know, because I personally feel like this is a great movie for people who don't like vampire movies because it is so different. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe everyone who loves vampires was like, this is... You know what? Yeah, I think people who like vampires...
will like
probably love this, and then they're like, what else is coming out nowadays with vampires?
No, because that's the thing is like, other than I get the whole sunrise thing and garlic and wood, but they don't look like traditional vampires. Whereas I think of vampires as like Nosferatu, black, Count Dracula, sharp teeth.
Aren't they pale?
Yeah, pale. Black like black cloak. whoa. Like yeah.
Just pause.
Tech. I meant like black cloak.
I know.
Black
I just
dress.
want to pause. I just want to breathe for a second.
Pale, like red lips, sharp teeth. You know what I mean? And that's like this was.
So you thought when they got bit, their color was going to change?
I felt like it was almost more of a zombie movie. Because that's also true of zombies.
That makes
you
sense.
bite one and you become one. I don't think that's necessarily a true thing with vampires. But I don't know. She also says in the
I think vampires are just supposed to be sexier.
do you?
I
think people do.
I think that's what they made it more appealing. Because if they were zombies, think about this too. Haley Steinfeld's character is kind of this like, she's kind of a tempter once she becomes a vampire. It's not like the second she gets bit, she looks disgusting. You know what I mean? It's like when it's like about to happen. And so I think a lot of the people who got bit early on, if this was a zombie movie, it would have just been like, they're zombies now. They're ugly and they're going to attack everyone. But instead, like this played with temptation, which I think works better for
deception.
the film.
Yeah.
I don't actually know if that's true. I was just trying to find a reasoning for it.
No, I think that's fair, honestly.
Dancing with the Devil.
Dancing with the Devil.
Did this remind you of Babylon at all? It reminded me of Babylon.
Well, how so?
The color grading. Like it's like it's like warm, but it's also so dark. Does that make sense? Like that dance hall, it was warm, but I was like, it's so dark. Like there's so many shadows, and like the music goes from like really dancey to like it's building tension. Like it almost feels like, I don't know how to describe it.
Sure. Low light, faded yellows, faded grays.
It's gorgeous, but it's also like eerie. You know what I mean?
The tension.
Like it's about to get bad.
They did do such a good job of building up the tension to like the vampires getting there and then
the soundtrack,
the whole like inviting them in thing.
Yeah. The soundtrack changed everything. Because even when
the soundtrack was terrifying.
Yeah. The girl who Sammy's talking to, like, even when she's singing, it kind of feels like, oh, like something's about to happen. Like it was fun and people were dancing, they were clapping, but it was very, I don't know, there was like an eeriness to it. I don't know, I'm trying to remember now what instruments were being used, but it reminded me of Babylon. So if you haven't seen Babylon, there's that.
Yeah. I thought the pace of the movie too was phenomenal. It zoomed by. Like once it got to the end, I was like, oh my gosh, like it is kind of a crazy ride, but I didn't feel like, I wasn't like, all right, let's hurry this up.
It did remind me of like, I don't know, maybe I haven't seen a ton of horror movies, so maybe this is how it usually goes, but it kind of reminded me of like Tarantino pacing, where it's like so much just building of like the characters and like, what are they going to do? Like what is the goal?
10 minutes of
and then chaos. Chaos. And so I actually felt like the beginning was kind of slow.
I don't know. I liked it. I liked the whole like sort of just riding along in the car with Sammy and Smoke and like seeing these small interactions where you get to learn more about these twins. Yeah. I sort of love that.
And you get more attachment to the characters. So when, you know, they might become vampires or they have become vampires and they have to die, it's actually sad. It's not just like, here's 20 random people who are vampires, now we have to kill them. Like, we just have to do it. No, like they have a connection to everyone. They intentionally invited people that they wanted at this party. This wasn't just like a room full of strangers, which made it more heartbreaking. It's like, here's a very dark way of putting it. It would be like this happening at someone's wedding. Yeah, like these were hand-picked people and families.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah, that's true.
So it made it matter more, which again, I think sometimes zombie movies, it's like, here, a zombie's gonna get you. But like these people had identities.
Yeah. All right, 2 more questions for you. One, let's talk about the ending.
Ah, yes.
What did you
real
feel
ending?
Like I want to know what your thoughts were on Sammy being older, this grown musician. He's in Chicago. I don't know if you caught that.
No, I didn't.
He's like, and then the vampires like come to visit him and sort of just want to hear him play and respect him. Mm-hmm. You know, like he honors the promise that he made to Stack that he's going to leave him alone.
Yes, which makes me a little bit confused because, again, I don't totally know the laws of vampires. But when Annie was explaining it, she was telling them like that's not them, like that's not your brother.
Right.
But it sounds like it's a combination. It sounds like it's like it is part of them, but they're possessed now. Because why would he unless it means okay, sorry. Let me gather my thoughts.
Well, because she says like when she's like when she explains like the whole vampire situation, she says like, you know, it's not them, it's a different person. But then he asks like, well, can we reverse it? Or can we she's like, you can't bring them back. All you can do is release their spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's what he does for Annie. Like before she turns into the vampire, he's able to kind of kill her and like release her spirit. He doesn't do that with his brother. He makes him promise like to stay away from Sammy, and for some reason he respects that. So he sort of goes back on that. Like he appeals to the relational part of him.
Well, so here's the thing: is if it is part of his actual spirit, like it's still in there, then that's true. Like he actually took that to heart. Actually has some of his own self still, and was able to stay true to that, and desired to like see how his cousin was doing, or if they are just, that's not them at all. If they are all just like the devil now, the devil,
evil.
And because remember they said like, so backtracking. Remember when Grace is trying to leave because her husband is there, but he's been bitten. And the other vampire says like, I know everything he knows. I have all his memories. So there is a chance too, if like the very end when Smoke goes in there, it's not Smoke at all. Like it could be all the devil, and he knows everything he knows. He heard everything Stack said to him. And so maybe it's a way to kind of like emotionally like connect with him. Like, I know you, like we have a relationship. Do you remember that time? So does that make sense? Like maybe it's like none of it is Smoke at all.
Yeah, but I mean like he also says like that was the best day of my life. It was the last time I saw the sunrise. It was the last time I got to spend with my brother.
Yeah.
And, you know.
But that's what confuses me then. So it is them now, right, just as a vampire. I think,
like she said, she was like, they live on Earth, but all they experience is hatred and pain.
Because they're biting people.
Yeah, because they need blood. I don't get why he would respect that promise to his brother, and I don't get why he, you know, would like why he would give Sammy that choice. You know, like he comes in, he's like, I can make that, like I can make you immortal to do this forever, to tour and play music forever, and he's like, no.
Yeah. Well, again, maybe that's supposed to represent like the devil. Like maybe it's like supposed to represent like you do have a choice. This isn't a swarm of vampires showing up at your club. It's like, I know you, and like I can offer this to you, or you can turn it away, but it's up to you.
So is the overall, you know, thesis of this film, because it's titled Sinners, and all of them, like in some ways, are kind of doing something bad. You know, I mostly mean like Smoke and Stack. Like they've killed all these people and done this stuff, and Sammy's like still this good kid, and they haven't poisoned him yet. Sort of a deal.
Yeah, he kind of represents like purity in the beginning of the film. He's like so young.
Yeah, he's very innocent. He's very wide-eyed. He's asking questions. Yeah. They ask him at the beginning, like, does your dad beat you?
Yeah.
And he's like, no. And like, he doesn't mean anything by it. Like, I don't know. Like, he's sort of this untouched thing. And then them inviting him into this club is like sort of, I don't know. But I don't think that holds true to like the whole music thing.
Yeah, that is hard because if you just watched the first like 2/3 of the film, I don't think there was anything wrong with their party. Like I don't think
I thought
that was
that's
evil.
Like a really great thing.
So that's what, confuses me a little bit. And like, I know I don't, it's a good thing if we don't always know the message right away from the film, but I was confused about like, what is the problem here? Like, what is the driving message?
Yeah.
And so if they didn't have that little intro with, oh, our family can use music to do this, then it wouldn't make sense. If they didn't include that, it would just be like, vampires like good music. So like, what, we can't enjoy anything unless that is the message. Unless that is the message of a cultural experience. You have this room of African Americans who are going to have like a classy event. Like, it's like really nice drinks, really nice food is being like handmade, and people are dressed up really nice.
It's built out of the love of a community.
Yes.
And
And there was nothing wrong with it. And I think, okay, all right, it's coming together.
All right,
You're getting the word vomit. Did they steal in order to pull off this party? Yes, they did. Did they shoot people to pull off this party? Yes, they did. However, does that mean they deserve to lose their loved ones to this vampire devil? It's like, and I don't know if this is why it's called Sinners, like you have these characters where they're, especially for Smoke and Stack, their flaws are being highlighted in this film. They're shooting people. They're all this money all of a sudden. Yeah, they're having affairs.
They're beating people up. Yeah.
Yeah, seem irresponsible. But like, you still get to know their characters, and that like they have this like deep down, this heart and this desire to bring people together and to enjoy life with them. And so it seems like when the vampires come for them, it's not like, hey guys, like you screwed up. Like you've been stealing from people and now we're going to punish you. Like that's not what it is. It's about, it has nothing to do with that, it seems like. And so I wonder if like the message of the movie was supposed to be like, yes, like they did mess up, but also who hasn't? And like their goal was to create a space where their people felt welcome. And then the worst of the worst happens. Like hell breaks loose.
Hell enters in. Yeah, so maybe like, you know, sin threatens community.
Yeah, okay. That's the other thing I was going to ask you about. Community. That is a word that gets repeated several times by the vampires.
Love and fellowship. Fellowship specifically.
Oh, sorry.
That's
sorry.
what. Yeah.
No, you're right.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And that
that was weird.
Well, yeah. Okay. So this leads into the second question on the like sort of the Christian lens of it is like they are also offering that.
Right.
These like devil people are offering fellowship and like in some ways love, like not real love that like you and I would think is, but like what some people would be tempted by to say like, I gain the knowledge of everything and I gain people who are the same.
We get to live forever.
We get to live forever.
It's very Adam and Eve.
Super. And I the snake at the beginning.
Oh,
like the super big foreshadowing of like a choice that being made.
And it's Stack that kills the snake.
And it's Stack
like
that kills the snake.
Immediately. Oh my god.
And it's Smoke that hands him the knife. You know what I mean?
Oh man.
And who do they save from the snake? Who lifts it up? Sammy. Yeah. This like innocent part. So I think
oh my goodness.
I think I don't know all of the elements to it, but like I think that is sort of the theme here is like, hey, if you don't like approach, you know, I hate to use the word repentance of sinful nature, but if you don't like take the wrongdoing seriously, and if you don't like that, often that is what leads to the destruction of community. And it might be by outside forces, but it also might be by inside forces.
Yeah.
And like it not only affects you, but it affects your brother.
Yeah. And I think going back to the whole duality of like, we have the twins. One of them becomes a vampire. One of them doesn't. You can have community either way. I think it's also like showing there's a lot of communities you can have. You can build communities based on a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean it's necessarily good.
They don't say, I mean, maybe they do say community at one point, but they repeat fellowship. Which is like
a very churchy
super
word.
churchy word, but it doesn't inherently mean something good. Like you can be in fellowship with
doing evil,
with evil things, and evil. I hate to say like evil people, and that, honestly, like that's kind of it. Sort of just like struck me very strangely because I had just listened to the sermon on. Why does Jesus eat with sinners and tax collectors?
Oh yeah,
and like it was like specifically the word sinners.
Yeah,
and like he does that to come and save, not to be in fellowship with. He comes to die for them, not to
It's not to assimilate,
but to stand out and to ultimately sacrifice for the greater good of them. So it's not justifying these things that these people are doing, but instead it's calling them up and out of.
And with the Christian themes, I know that I mentioned this when we were leaving the theater, but I think this did a really good job of like presenting like this is what temptation feels like because and again, I know I mentioned this to you already. Like as we're watching it, I was like, I would hate this. Like, no part of me wants to be a vampire. Like, this looks awful.
It's like an emotional nightmare too.
Yes.
Also, rather than like a realistic,
Yes. But then
physical nightmare.
When they get to the ending and Smoke comes in and is kind of giving him that option of like, hey, like you could have nights like this forever, like this is what we do and you could live forever with us. Like, there was a part of me for a second that was like, oh, it's not that bad. Like, yeah, they don't get to see sunlight. Yeah, like they've probably lost some really important relationships, but they get to live forever and with other people who are also vampires. Like, so they still have community, fellowship. Like, for a second, I was like, oh, I can see like why that's enticing.
Yeah.
So I think it presented temptation really well. But the thing is, like, using that word like live forever. When you have Annie's character, she's very knowledgeable of the vampires and all these things. And she has this like understanding of this is their hell. Like, they're doomed. And I don't want this. So if this happens to me, please like free me, which means killing her. For in the terms that we understand as humans, that would mean killing her, which is not great. Nobody wants to get killed. However, like the Christian theme that comes into that is like she had this understanding of, if I want my spirit to actually live for eternity, I need to die. And we talk so much, and Jesus talks so much in the Gospels about dying before you can live, dying before something can be made new. And so I don't know if that was Coogler's goal, but like this was a Christian film, man. Like, I was like, I don't want these vampires. I want what Annie has. Yeah. And that means like dying to yourself. It means dying from like what the world has to offer. And it means maybe you don't have nights at the club every night, but I think that's okay. And so
it means that you reject the white dude with the banjo who shows up at the function.
Yeah, and I do think it could also be taken as like this is supposed to be like a YOLO movie, like everything ends, so like we might as well be vampires and like dance all night with like our friends and do whatever we want. Like you could take it as this means like you only live once, like just have fun. Wouldn't it be nice to be a vampire? But I very much took it as like, no, like we have to die to ourselves to like actually live the way Christ intended for us.
Yeah.
Which again, I don't know if that was the goal, but I felt very, very, very moved by this film.
No, yeah. I mean, I think maybe we're just trying to see the Christian lens on it. But I also thought...
I'm not trying, dude. I was sitting there and I literally felt like, I was like, if that's the devil, like, no, I want Jesus.
It is an antithesis.
It moved my heart.
An antithesis to heaven, like an antithesis to life with Jesus, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. I also thought that like it's a very intentional about the impact. I know I said this before, but like the impact of their relationship with their fathers. Like Smoke and Stack clearly have this tumultuous and wounded place with their relationship with their dad, and then, Sammy has a dad to come home to. Has like a father that
it's
welcomes
like this
him.
prodigal son moment.
Super.
Except he doesn't stay. So
well, and so that's
not.
why I'm the ending still confuses me. Kind of is like, he continues to play music and he continues to like really pursue this thing, and he holds on to the guitar.
Inherent sin.
The guitar that he smashed.
Yes. Yep.
But he still has this.
Yes. I think also very Christian of this film because
you still hold on to those things that
it's like he went to hell and back and was like, maybe it'll be different this time. And I think it's showing like
he keeps these ties to what can welcome sin and welcome.
Yeah. Like we can see very real consequences of our sin, and it doesn't mean, cool, I'll never do it again. Like all of us will continue to make mistakes. We'll continue to screw up even if we've seen consequences. And like, yes, like sometimes we see a consequence and like, wow, I'm never doing that again. But I think his character was representing like, did you not see what came of that? Like, is that really worth the music to you?
Yeah.
So, cool. Did this come out before Easter?
I think so.
Yeah. Crazy.
Maybe intentionally.
This was my Easter. This was like so impactful for my faith. I don't know if that was Coogler's goal, but I'm telling you, after I saw the movie, like I just need Jesus.
It definitely makes you go, wow, I really want to cling to Jesus. But I will say, though, part of me walking out was like, just for me personally, like I don't want to sort of prioritize my relationship with Christ out of fear for, separation from with it. I think that like that's part of it, but I think what's more like true and lasting is like forming a relationship with Christ because of who he is.
Yeah.
Not because of you're scared of the alternate.
Yeah.
It's scared of the absence and the devil that comes with that. Like, that's very real. And I think that plays a part in it. And I'm not saying that like, that we shouldn't have that awareness, but I just, like there is no Jesus figure in it. Is it the pastor? I
was thinking
there is no
Stack is like the protector. And so I feel like he was the closest thing to a Christ character. And like, and again, he wasn't a perfect character, but yeah, that's who I kind of took.
No, yeah, you're right.
And so, yeah, when you were saying that, I was like, I think this film showed a lot of what is the opposite of God? What is the opposite? What does separation from God look like? So I think.
Yeah, and it's aptly named. Yeah, no, I hear that.
Dude, yeah, I don't know what. I think Coogler grew up going to church. That's the other thing I will say. A part of me was like, the way they shot like the scenes in the church did also look a little bit eerie. And so I was like, maybe this is very anti-church, and maybe they have the vampires use the word fellowship to show like, oh, they're trying to hold you back from living your life. Like they're trying to hold this kid back from being successful with his music. Like the church is the devil. However,
and then at the end he returns back and it's like, this is a safe place.
Yeah. So even if that was the goal of the movie, I don't think so, because his dad was right. His dad was right.
No, yeah. And like, I was thinking like there's a scene where I can't remember where he says it, but he's like, go play music in that church. Like, go play that, I can't remember who says it, if it's Smoke or Stack.
I feel like it's
Stack at
Smoke.
the end.
I think they're looking around and Smoke's like, you don't want this.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. He comes up to him and he's like, you're not going to do this anymore.
Oh, man.
Which was like maybe a foreshadowing thing. And I was just thinking to myself, I was like, I as somebody who's played music and continues to play music,
that
in
was the peak, right?
worship settings, and also have played it outside of it, like I have this desire to continue doing that in worship spaces. Like in my hope and my prayer for my own personal life is like, if I play music and I'm recognized for that, I hope that it glorifies God and not me. But it's very easy for me to start thinking and start to get attracted and tempted by the glorification of myself.
Right.
That is very easy. And I'm sure that with films, it's the same way. And with any sort of art or medium, music's just like a better example. But like the best music and the greatest music that I feel most proud of is always in church settings and in places where I'm welcoming the Holy Spirit and drawing like and allowing people to experience Jesus and like draw close to him in relationship. That is like what the music that I like, that's my hope for any music that I play. But yeah, like I said, like it's very easy to stop that and to sort of think of it as my own thing and from in like selfish ways. And the temptation is real in that. And so,
and again, it doesn't mean it would be evil to want to pursue music in a career outside of that. But I think we see Sammy's character start to change a little bit once he gets that recognition.
Sure.
And it's also interesting. I'm glad you brought up that conversation because I totally forgot about it. Smoke's talking to him about that like right before everything happens with the vampires.
Yeah.
And so if you contrast like that conversation they're having where he's like, hey, like this is not it. And like, even if it means hurting you, I'm going to protect you from like throwing your life away. And then you look at the end where it's like, wait, hey, do you want to live forever? I'm pretty sure it's him.
Is it Stack? I thought maybe it's Stack because I feel like that's Stack's character.
It is more Stack's character. I just thought I remember seeing the red.
No, you might be right.
Tie. But either way, if it was him, that contrast is crazy with like the end where it's like, hey, do you want to do this forever in Chicago?
Yeah.
Oh man.
And going
it would have made more sense for Stack to have that conversation.
But maybe this is like going back to
it.
the whole twin conversation. This is why it's good to have the same guy play it, is because a lot of times that is the same person. Like you can do both. You can be the guy that encourages someone like, hey, I recognize this in you, but let me give you this advice. You can also be the guy who ruins it. You know what I mean? Like it's they are the same person. It's just in this movie they play two different characters and two different avenues.
Wow.
Soundtrack by. Did you catch it?
I saw it, but I forgot.
It was Ludwig Göransson, same guy who did
yes.
Oppenheimer, worked on all the Black Panther movies, and did all the Childish Gambino albums.
So good.
It
was insane.
He's my hero.
It transformed the movie. I think having vampires, this could have easily become really cheesy.
Yeah.
But the music and the pacing made it so good.
I know that's like weird, or maybe it's just nerdy, or maybe it's snooty, but like the pacing on this film was so good.
Okay. Also, a very specific scene I have to mention, and if anyone's listening and has not seen it yet, please look for this. There is some point where music is building up, and do you remember? I think it's when they're prepping to fight the vampires, and Annie like has these like matches, I think, and the way she hits them is on time with, I think it's with the music the vampires are making outside. It's like this boom, 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 and I was like, oh my gosh. That moment was beautiful.
Yeah.
Well done.
One of the best.
Well done.
One of the best well-represented banjo movies. I don't know if you caught that. The devil's holding a banjo.
Yep.
When they play.
I caught it.
Last movie we saw with a banjo?
A
Complete Unknown.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, okay. One more thing I want to say before we move on. Mm-hmm. I remember when we were discussing, the best film nominees for last year, what was kind of like the common thread. And for quite a few of them, it was this question of how do people become evil? I mean, with classic Wicked, is evil something that's thrust upon them? And I think this film aligns with that because these people are literally becoming possessed, and it's people that it's not like in the movie they were villains and now, oh, well, serves them right. Now there's a vampires. Like, you get to see like how lovable their characters are and how good they are and how much they enjoy each other. And it's not like the characters we see in the party asked to become a vampire. Like, we see this literally take them over. And it screws everything up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's, you know, when we talk about like, what does this if this movie's a prayer, what does it say about it? I think it's like, lead us from temptation. Like, this is temptation.
When he says the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah. And
that was crazy.
Honestly, going back to like the whole Christian thing, that is what, like, I don't get scared in movies often. Like, I think I'm pretty good about just like, you know, that. And then when like they all started chanting the Lord's Prayer, all of the zombies, I was like, okay, that is actually terrifying. This like, the devil can quote scriptures too, and that's
true. That's true.
Super biblical.
Oh my gosh!
Like super, you know.
When he said, "I know him,"
yeah, oh yeah, that like
this
just really kind of rocked
crazy.
me.
Crazy, yeah.
I just think like,
put the fear of the Lord in you.
Yeah,
that was really weird.
Does.
Yeah,
and he's baptizing him in that scene too. He's dunking him in the water. I mean, that's just really terrifying.
Gosh.
And again, like, yeah, I think I think maybe like the ending, especially for Stack's character, like if Coogler really is like trying to build him up as sort of the Christological figure, I do think he is sort of portraying the Ku Klux Klan as like sort of the origin of this evil, because he not only saves Sammy, but he also like ends the evil.
Yeah.
You know, he sacrifices himself and kills the overarching evil.
Yeah.
And I guess I didn't see it like that when like all the vampire stuff is, but I think that's kind of where he's getting at. Yeah. Is that like he not only has to kill himself, but he has to kill like the greater good, and he has to die for that. And that like, but then that bums me out with the ending of like, he lets his brother go and he can't kill his brother and makes him promise to stay away from Sammy.
That is confusing.
But I guess, okay, here's like getting really into the weeds here. Maybe it is like a very super salvation history, like in like biblical timeline thing of, like this is an event. This is sort of like a Last Supper event. And like, we are Sammy, we are this humanity where it seemed like death had us and like Smoke has to die. You know what I mean? Like Smoke has to die and like the other part of him, Stack, has to rise sort of, but he doesn't kill the devil. He doesn't vanquish evil in the way that we think of it. He saves Sammy in that moment, and then Sammy has to continue like denying the devil, you know? And like Sammy sort of has to continue with this walk with music and how to live out his life. And the devil is always tempting him and is always sort of after. And it was only because of Stack's sacrifice of his life, the giving up of his life, that Sammy gets to continue on. And like death is, you know, the devil, the evil, death is still like a part of our world. It's like the already not yet thing. Like, yes, he was defeated in that moment, but yet the impact of it still lives on in Smoke or whatever it is. You know?
Yeah. And I think going back to like the racial undertones of all this and the history, when you said how it's like Stack's character seemingly defeats like who's left of the clan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And tying it all together, I think that is a very specific group that used religion to defend what they were doing, which was actually evil.
Yeah.
Which is a great
Yeah, that's a good
metaphor
point.
by the vampires. Because again, the vampires are talking about fellowship. They're talking about our
Totally.
people, like, oh, like, are you looking at me different because of my color? Like, that's crazy. And yeah, they're trying to seem charming. They're trying to seem charming. They know the Lord's Prayer. They know all that good stuff. But what they're doing is still evil, and they are convincing themselves.
Yeah.
They're convincing their community. They also have
Their
community.
fellowship.
They're convincing them that this is good, that this is holy,
That this is love.
and it's the devil.
And it's the devil. Yeah. And
Oof.
yeah. And like,
So I don't
it's
think
also like the perfect, I mean, like, I get that that's like the whole history, but it is really like the perfect historical setting for a vampire film, in that like the relationship of Black churches within that time has to be so complicated. Like, I can't even begin to think about like how a church of like predominantly Black community members would, like, how they would operate in relation to churches that are supporting the clan,
Right.
or who are like
Right.
the origin of like clan members and really racist ideology and beliefs. Like, how do you live in relation to that? How do you operate like where like these people believe the same things but are persecuting and like are killing members of our community in that same name?
Shedding blood.
How do I continue practicing my faith when this is what it's being used for? And like, it's just a really complicated thing that I think, you know, I think this movie sort of is speaking to like the complexity of that.
Yeah. And I think that makes me thankful Sammy's dad, like, from what we understand, seems like a good, like, Christian pastor. And so we get to kind of see the contrast of that. Like, you know, we can live our faith out in like a healthy way. Like, this was an example of like using it and manipulating it to do evil. You know what I mean? So, and that's the devil, I guess. Whew. That was a lot.
Good. Yeah. Good to see this after Easter.
Yeah.
That's what I said walking out of there.
Yeah. Reviews and then some letterbox.
Let's do it. What do you want to do, the letterbox first and then our rankings and then our ratings?
I'll give mine before. I'm dancing between 3.5 and 4. But now that like we've really like digested it, I'm more so at a 4.
A 4?
Yeah. Because my only reason I wasn't like, oh, it's the best movie ever, is because there were some of those things where I was like, I don't really see the connection. But I think there was enough left to kind of cause the audience to like ponder and dwell on.
Yeah, it's a movie you chew on for a long time.
Which I appreciate.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a... Okay, I haven't seen a scary movie in theaters in a long time. So I remember like walking out of it, I was like, wow, it's a really good movie experientially. I just theologically had some questions and spiritually didn't like I don't necessarily enjoy watching things about the occult or like, you know, I just don't want to welcome that kind of thought process.
Yeah.
And after talking about it, I feel a little bit better and feel like it is a movie sort of in rebuke of that, even though it is sort of showing that. But I don't know. I think I'm going to give it a 4.0. I'm going to give it a 4.1, actually. And legitimately, I think that 0.1 is just because, like, the music and Michael B. Jordan's acting is really good in it. And the fact that they pulled off, like, having the same guy in all those interactions is really cool. And just, yeah, it just, like, regardless of the subject matter, it is a really good movie. Just, like, seeing it in theaters was phenomenal. And they had a post-credit scene. I mean, that, you know, that felt really cool. Do you think the post-credit scene was like an intentional thing of like, you could end it here, but this is also where, you know what I mean? That's what I was thinking. I was like, they start the credits and it's like sort of almost over, and then it.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably like, hey, this is like this is what I'm trying to say about these topics, but also like it's still playing out in current settings.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe he did it that way because it ends kind of like, okay, Sammy got out. Like, Sammy made it.
Ends happy.
But then,
This
like,
is sort of
having
the
that last
realistic
conversation, it's a little bit more like, this is great, but, like, I don't need to live forever. Like, that's not what I choose at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just don't get why they let him go.
I think it's a lot of, like, he's been his protector his whole life. Again, they have the same face. I think it's like, that would be a lot harder.
Yeah.
I don't know. And he didn't ask for it like Annie did. Like, I wonder if a part of him was thinking like, I don't know.
Yeah.
All
All right, hit me with some reviews.
All right. You ready? 5 out of 5 stars. Starts with quoting scripture. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed.
Whoa.
He shall crush thy head, and thou shalt crush his heel. Perfect. Beautiful and perfect and heavy. One of a kind. Yeah, good scripture reference, that one. I like this one because of the song reference. 5 stars. Crazy, scary, spooky, hilarious. Do you get that one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. 4 out of 5 stars. Gonna tell my kids this was Twilight. Same. I found one that was explaining what I was telling you earlier. 4.5 stars. When the rhythmic sound of Annie striking a match synchronized with the music, this is major, folks. I screenshot that so I can make sure anyone who sees it looks for that part. This one I don't see the rating, but they loved it. Coogler cashed in his blank check on a vampire dance battle movie about why you should never trust the Irish, and I'm levitating right now.
Yeah. Well, how many movies are the Irish the bad guys?
Are they in The Irishman?
I think they're all bad guys.
Yeah, I don't know. Not in Dairy Girls.
Not in Dairy Girls.
Anything else you want to share before we end?
This movie got a lot of buzz around the money of it. Have you read
like
about
how
that?
much money he spent?
I guess I don't know if it was in the contract or if it was in something that Ryan Coogler organized, but I don't know the details. You'd have to look it up. So I don't want to quote something that's incorrect, but my understanding is that Ryan Coogler, like his contract with this movie and it's more so his ownership of it makes him money before the studio. And that like this movie has sort of ruined studio deals with it, like filmmakers, in that like everybody's gonna be asking for this, like what he's doing. That like it's not like he has to make enough money to pay them back for things and then he starts to make money. He gets like a certain portion of every dollar that's spent no matter what.
Huh.
So I think this is also a big thing for the industry too. And I just wanted to shout that out. I don't know the exact details of it, but I do think like it's a very original idea.
Yeah.
It does feel like an indie film in some aspects. Like it doesn't feel like a big studio blockbuster.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a huge production. It doesn't require a lot of like really expensive things. It's sort of like, grit and grind, like backwoods filmmaking, like vampire makeup. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot. When I was at GCU, I saw a lot of vampire films of just like cheaply made, school projects that were just like, it's just like a fun filmmaking thing. And this honestly felt like that, just done by a really professional guy. And yeah, there's very few of those kind of movies left that are still being produced by studios. So it does make me happy for the theater and for the industry itself. But,
very cool.
Yeah. Anything else? I love Jesus.
So that's what I was going to say.
I need Jesus.
We all do, I guess. Yeah. Yep. That's what this movie reminded me of.
Okay.
This has been Sinners.